Hey there. So today I want to return to that wonderful world of litigation, and I want to ask you a question. I want to ask why you would link to something within your own documents that could potentially harm your clients. Why exactly would you do that while you're going and setting up your case? See, I've seen Monica Rial and Ron Toye's lawyer link to places like Pretty Ugly Little Liars, to Tumblr, to places out there that are terrible sources. But you could always excuse that by saying, well, he's trying to explain that to the layman. If somebody comes along and they don't understand internet culture, this is something that could explain something, and it might do damage. And that damage, well, we don't have to worry about blowback. Okay, fair enough. But in this filing, we actually see the opposite. We see something filed that if somebody were to read it, some layman out there, they might understand what SJWism or SJW culture entails. They might see words like terrorist attack and hear about a lawyer having his life and his liberty threatened. Someone in Texas might read that and they might think, hey, that doesn't read too well. So what I'm talking about here is, of course, a tie-in to the Vic Mignogna situation, a lawsuit that has come up after months of people trying to burn his life and livelihood down. Good timing, too. I mean, he really did need this popping off in his corner. And well, as you see this going further and further down the rabbit hole, some of the moves there, they are astounding in their stupidity. I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen, like I say, linking to Pool, linking to Tumblr, yeah, those seem pretty damn stupid. But looking at this actually took the prize. Now, if you go through this, basically what it's talking about is why someone doesn't deserve a protective order. And when you get to a certain point, well, the lawyer decides to fixate on Rekieta Law. If you've never checked out Rekieta Law, you'll know that it's a YouTube channel wherein you have lawyer law-splaining legal topics to the internet fueled by whiskey and rage. Now, the person here that's filing this decides they want to explain what the channel is. They want to explain this sentence here. Plaintiff's attorneys have appeared on episodes of the YouTube channel for Rekieta Law describing facts of a case, the pleadings, and the defendants, providing images of evidence they intend to use in the case, and discussing their legal strategy. So you see that sentence, and when you go to look at it, it's not actually linked to, say, a video or anything like that. No, it's linked to the parody of Bleeding Cool, or at least that's where their name come from, Bleeding Fool. Bleeding Fool. Why would you ever link to this, knowing exactly what this is going to describe? Now, props to Michael here that wrote this article. I think that it comes across very well. And, props to them for making a point that you never thought would end up in certain hands, like it does here. So let's read this together. And you tell me, would you file this, say, for your clients, trying to defend them, knowing that it talks about your clients and certain things that they themselves, at least one of them anyhow, has done. So over the past weeks, there's been an increase in the attention being placed on the world of anime. Dubbed Anime Gate, this new movement shares several characteristics with its sister movements, Comics Gate and Gamergate. Like previous movements, this one also aims to strike back at the SJW infestation that has insidiously invaded all fandoms across the world. Prominent in this movement is the existence of a legal battleground as its starting point, one that is loosely organized by large profile YouTubers like That Umbrella Guy, Yellow Flash, and Nick Rekieta. Now, props to them, but I don't think I'm very big there. But again, props there. But the overwhelming characteristics of this movement is an incidental insight into quote-unquote how normies react to the initial exposure of the SJW tactics almost in real time. Mr. Nick Rekieta has long hosted live streams on YouTube with the aim of analyzing ongoing legal cases, offering both explanations of the ongoing litigation and the possible legal strategies that could be used by the involved attorneys. These legal strategies are largely conjecture by Nick. However, time and time again, he has been proven correct in his legal opinions as those cases reach their conclusion. It was in this capacity that Nick was exposed to the ongoing drama that Vic Mignogna had been facing on his own, and Nick's legal calling prompted him to take action. After organizing Vic's GoFundMe and managing a $100,000 goal, which was reached in 15 days, and props to communities for doing that, Nick became even more exposed to those terrorist tactics that the SJWs employ to destroy their enemies. But Nick would not be the only quote-unquote normie that would learn these tactics firsthand. Vic's attorneys, Beard, Harris, Bullock, and Hughes, would also be exposed. So again, you see videos that are tied in here, but you get this narrative, and well, looking at what the narrative says. So watch as Ty offers some of much needed support to Nick after ethic complaints received. So Nick, he has his jaw brigaded against here, and this will be noted yet again. Those of us that have dealt with SJWs, both directly and indirectly, are used to seeing their handiwork and tactics in brazen display, but that was not the case with Mr. Ty Beard, an attorney working out of Tyler, Texas. His online presence was non-existent by his own admission prior to taking this case. The internet can be harsh, cruel, and unforgiving place for people like that. For a second, I feared for Mr. Beard's sanity. Yes, for sure there. When I learned that the quote-unquote autistic force of the internet located within Kiwi Farms was openly scouring the internet for information to provide him, my fears increased for a second. For the first time ever, I witnessed a true act of chivalry within the barren landscape of the internet. Kiwi Farm users actively warned Mr. Beard of what areas to actively avoid within the site. Ty has made 3 appearances in Nick's live streams. Each of those appearances has been drastically different from one another. Viewers can see the disgust that this quote-unquote normie is experiencing as he is exposed to this form of terror that is SJWs. I would hope, too, that a judge actually sits down and he watches some of these, because what you'll see unfold in real time are people going out and trying not only to ruin folks like Nick Rekieta, but also trying to ruin other folks. Like, for instance, one of the things that he ended up talking about was SJWs going after a certain umbrella person's family, and how that kind of dubious tactic was one that is commonplace. Now, if you also listen to how they've gone and burned down other people's lives, you see example after example fielded. And all of those, yeah, they don't paint a pretty backdrop. Not one that a judge would like, I'm sure, if he went in to actually try to understand this. But continuing on, Ty appeared to be surprised at how effective the SJW tactics have proven so far. His commentary on how these parasites have been able to influence and affect people's lives over perceived crimes is a great reflection on the public's reaction to it. Ty dismissed the comparison of SJW tactics to the Salem witch trials by saying that at least those accused of witchcraft in such an arcane time received a trial in front of a judge. Can you imagine that, too? Wow, judges reading through this, and here's these people. They didn't even afford the luxury of a trial, which was at least given to people in the Salem witch trials. I mean, can you imagine that? And you decided to link it here. That's really smart there. He also remarked at how SJWs drove such an intense amount of pressure on business owners, and that they would eventually succumb to the pressure in order to receive some peace. So here they talk about brigading businesses, which is also linked toward the bottom. But continuing, this further echoes previous complaints made by Richard Meyer and his sabotage business relationships, as well as a multitude of attacks levied against Alterna Comics. Now, can Can you imagine if the person decided to look up what happened to Alterna Comics, how they were attacked and branded because, God forbid, that they decided to thank consumers? Can you imagine someone outside of any of these industries hearing about that and what their reaction would be? Because when I explain it to people, they seem to think, my God, there has to be more. And then when you show them a little bit more of it and show them how crazy people are, they understand, yeah, no, this is commonplace there. Toye brought an outsider's perspective to this ongoing SJW infection and accurately identified not just the problem, but the solution needed to successfully combat this invasion. Both Nick and Toye reached out to the fans and asked them to support a convention currently undergoing their own SJW swarm, along with other suspected criminal activities. This convention, strengthened by the overwhelming fan support, took a stand against the SJW tactics and drove the first wound on their narrative. So if you look at this, this is actually talking about, well, a convention that was brigaded against, that was attacked repeatedly, and that it brings up questions about what conventions have had to deal with, too. I mean, can you imagine KamehamehaCon becoming an open topic and how that business was damaged from the inside? How you've already seen certain parts that have been entered into evidence, but imagine the other conventions that can be entered in. Anime Matsuri could be thrown in there. You could have HawaiiCon thrown in over and over again. These examples of people not capitulating and walking lockstep. Yeah, it's very interesting to see how people threaten them, threaten to demolish them, when we supposedly heard that this guy here, that's the only guy they've ever gone after. And well, that was done for the goodness and the sake of decency and morality and on. That's what these people have actually been pushing. But continuing. Meanwhile, Nick's professional career has taken some small attacks from these parasites. As attorneys, Nick and Toye are both held to the high standards of behavior in their practices by distinctly different governing professional ethics boards. Nick has received 2 terrorist attacks in the form of quote-unquote ethic complaints from separate SJWs. You see this here. Now, what's really interesting about this is the person that is filing this represents one of the people that made an ethics complaint and has pushed other people to do so as well. So if you need any kind of evidence that this person will try to destroy you at whim, there you go. How they're willing to go out and to try to destroy life and livelihood simply because, there you are. There you are indeed. And maybe a judge, maybe some normie out there might not enjoy that little object lesson. But risking both financial and criminal consequences, the terrorists have tried to bully Nick into silence with their ill-conceived actions. But it would be Toye's outsider wisdom that would continue to add a level of calm into the situation. He remarked at how social media has become such a powerful tool thanks to the SJW, and that it should be a weapon to be used against them. Crowdfunding is a game changer, Toye remarked, adding that this fan-supported tool would allow people like Vic to seek justice for the crimes committed against them. Due to the ever-increasing list of offenders, from busybodies to convention coordinators, Nick has changed the GoFundMe overall goal. As Nick has said multiple occasions, justice moves at a deliberate pace until it becomes an avalanche. With more SJWs willing to throw themselves as sacrificial lambs, this avalanche will surely be fruitful. SJWs have controlled the narrative long enough. Their lies have twisted and turned joyful pastimes into another chore. Bad people ruin good things. Fandoms are severed and destroyed left and right. Large companies are dying. Nostalgic memories are being poisoned. Childless weirdos are being trusted with providing healthy entertainment for future generations. I like the fact, too, that we have a court document that goes in and adds childless weirdos. That's just beautiful. We have carried our share of the blame for this infestation for long enough. Vic represents our brothers, our sons, our fathers, and our friends. He needs us, and we will be there for him. For all of them like him that have witnessed as their lives are destroyed by people who are little more than oxygen wasters, this situation will hopefully lay out a blueprint that can be used in the the future as more fandoms are born from the ashes of those that have succumbed to the SJW plague. Now, when you look at that, would you want that tied to your people? Would you want to have someone say, yeah, they're actually representative of this? They're representative of tearing down fandoms, of attacking people over and over again, of silencing conventions, of attacking lawyers, of attacking voice actors. This is what that type of culture does. And your client, well, he's responsible for not just one action, but yet another action that's involved in this too. Why in the world would you put that into this? Why would you think that's a good idea? I mean, you already have lies that are in here talking about plaintiff's attorney has been selling merchandise that's holds Fear the Beard as a way to intimidate defendants, even though, I mean, when you go into this and you scan down, you can actually see that, well, when you roll out, that this says Image of Ricada Law selling that, so that's a lie. But why would you further go and diminish and damage? Because, yeah, I mean, it's so easy. It's so smart. Lord, what did they teach these people? But anyway, you tell me what you think about this. If you like this kind of content too, make sure that you're subbed. Make sure that you hit that bell for daily notifications. And if you want to go further, there's no obligation to do so, but say you love that umbrella guy and want to help the channel out, there is this, The Case of the Littlest Umbrella. This is 2 comic books in one. Basically, we have 2 comic books connected here with one message that says we can oppose gatekeepers. People out there that have forgotten us as consumers, they have forgotten and said that there is no competition. Yeah, we remind them of that. We remind them by bringing alternatives of our own. You can check this out. It's actually described pretty well. And check out this tier here because it has 2 comic books attached to it. Also, leave me your comments on this. I'm curious exactly how you see this. Would you add this article in knowing what it said? Pro or con, too. I don't care if you agree or disagree. I appreciate you showing up. In fact, I want to end by saying these people, they have forgotten many of us. They have forgotten who makes endeavors possible. That's not acceptable. So I appreciate you showing up, and I want to end by saying I do appreciate you. I, myself, many others, we see you out there. We see you making things possible. Vote with your wallets. If you like something, support it. If you don't, if you find that it insults you and degrades you over time, well, give up on it and walk away. But anyhow, thank you. I appreciate you. We'll do this again soon.